The Trey Lance debate is fascinating to me because that might be the most polarizing rookie quarterback discussion around the entire league. On one side of the fence, you have a group of people that think that he is absolutely not ready to play, that he's barely taken any snaps in the last 2 calendar years against any level of competition, let alone against NFL talent, and they want him to ride the bench for his entire rookie year and just learn behind Jimmy Garoppolo. And then on the other side of the fence, you have the people that see how explosive he can be, even if there are some mistakes and possibly some turnovers along the way. They know what kind of big plays that he can make, either with his arm or with his feet, and they just want him to start immediately and kind of kickstart his development process against NFL speed. And you know what? After looking at the All-22 for myself and charting every single snap that Lance has taken in his first 2 preseason games, honestly, both sides of the argument are kind of right. There was a lot of concerning stuff in Lance's first couple of games, but there's a lot of awesome stuff too. So what I'm going to do today is just show you what I saw, plain and simple. I'm going to take you through all of the lows, I'm going to explain all of the highs, and at the end, I'll just let you decide, based on what you see, whether you think he's ready to start in week 1. Deal? All right, go grab yourself a drink because this is going to be a long one. While you're at it, maybe make yourself one of these. I call it a Californio, and it's a recipe that I'm kind of tweaking as I go here, but so far it's pretty damn good, especially if you like jalapeno infused honey and mezcal. Packs a punch, let me tell you that. But with that being said, let's dive into this film. Now, look, there's really no way to get around this, so I'm just going to start here with all the bad stuff and then get to the positive stuff later. But to be blunt, Lance has had some noticeable issues with hesitation and second-guessing himself because he's still not entirely confident in what he's looking at all the time. He's had a couple near misses on interceptions, either because of a bad read or just being late on a throw, and I think that really spooked him and made him kind of retreat into a shell a little bit because he didn't want to turn the ball over. There were some really bad close calls, and I'll be honest, that Chiefs game back in week 1 was a lot tougher to deal with for any rookie quarterback than what we typically think of as a normal preseason game. There was nothing vanilla about what KC was running, and there were no cheap yards. They called blitz 0 against him, they called every kind of coverage rotation you can think of, there was match zone, there was one double, I mean you name it, they ran it. And Trey Lance, God bless him, he was noticeably confused at times because he had never seen this kind of stuff run at this kind of speed before. This was all new territory for him. This near interception by KC is a perfect example of that, and it was, in my opinion, what really put him into that sometimes overly cautious mindset ever since, because on this play, he clearly had a realization that in the NFL, no matter what he thinks he sees pre-snap, it's almost never going to look like that post-snap. I mean, just look at the secondary here right before that snap. You've got what looks like press man coverage with the boundary side corner, man coverage with the boundary side apex, man coverage on the field side corner, and what seems like possible man coverage with the field side apex as well. There's a single high safety and possibly some kind of funnel call on the running back between the Mike and the Jack, depending on how the running back releases, but it's tough to tell. Either way, this looks all day long to most quarterbacks like man coverage, single high safety, with probably some kind of 3-man twist coming from the boundary. And Lance, at least pre-snap, has a good answer for that look. They're in 2-jet protection up front, meaning it's a 3-man zone slide with the left side of the offensive line from the center on over to handle whatever comes from that side, with man-to-man protection on the other side with the right guard and right tackle, and the running back working inside out on the right side as well to scan and pick up any third threat that also comes from the right. That, in essence, is 2-jet protection, and of course 3-jet protection would just be the same responsibilities but flip the other direction. In terms of route concept, it's a slant underneath a corner route from the tight end on the boundary side, which versus man coverage and with a single high safety that is way out of the picture, that should be easy money for Lance just to throw that corner route high and outside and just let his guy go get it. But, of course, this entire defensive look from the pressure package to the coverage was all bait, and the Chiefs were not actually running man coverage, or even a 3-man twist. In fact, what they were really bringing was a pressure generally known as 4-weak instead, and there's a lot of different versions and names for 4-weak, but I'm just going to keep it simple here. And what 4 weak means is that you're bringing 4 rushers against the weak side of the offensive formation, so that no matter what, unless they happen to call a full slide protection right into it, you're going to completely overload and overwhelm the protection on that weak side. Now, instead of the 3-on-3 here with the 2-jet protection from the 49ers, it's actually a 4-on-3, and Trey Lance obviously has a problem. Plus, on top of that, like I said, the Chiefs are not running man behind that blitz, and they're actually running a rotation all the way back into a 2-deep, 4-underneath zone coverage, which means this cornerback on the outside does not have to stick to this slant route, and he can make what's known as an undercall to pass off that slant so that he can then just sink underneath the tight end behind him. Lance obviously never saw that corner sinking, and hell, he might not have even been aware that it was zone coverage at all because it was such a good disguise, and quite frankly, he is lucky that he throws fastballs hard enough that DBs have just as much trouble trying to catch them as his own receivers do, because this should have been an interception, and it should have been a much bigger disaster than it was. That play, I think, kind of messed with Lance's head a little bit, and he lost some trust in what he was looking at because he almost got picked. And I really do think that spilled over into the start of the following game against the Chargers because he was double clutching on some relatively easy throws. And in particular, double clutching can be really bad for a quarterback because when you're second guessing your decision in the back of your head and you're stopping and then restarting your throwing mechanics 1 or 2 times before you even get the ball out, even hesitating ever so slightly can break down your mechanics and the ball might not come out quite right, which is unfortunately what happened on the pick he threw against the Chargers. He double clutched it, his mechanics were interrupted, and the ball just didn't go where he wanted it to go, so that deflection turned into a pick. Oddly enough, in a cruel twist of irony, as conservative and overly careful as Lance was playing when he first got on the field against the Chargers, I think that conservatism is what made him actually turn the ball over. If he was more decisive and just flat out more confident in what he was seeing, he probably could have avoided that cold streak he went through on his first 6 or 7 pass attempts. Now, I don't want to make it seem like this entire video is negative, because it's not. Trey Lance did do some really special things as well throughout this preseason. It wasn't just all bad. And truth be told, I do think that the highs were high enough that he could still start and be okay. I don't know that he will start, or even that he unequivocally should start, but I do at least know that he could and probably survive until he gets his sea legs under him because of how chaotically explosive he can be. And the primary reason why I'm still so high on Lance as a prospect, the reason why I have this belief in his long-term career path, even through all of these peaks and valleys early on, is I think that Kyle Shanahan has learned a thing or two over the last couple of weeks in terms of how best to scheme up Lance to reach those high peaks more often, even after he's bottomed out in the valleys. But I'll explain exactly what I mean by all of that, and I'll dive into how exactly I think Kyle Shanahan is going to handle Trey Lance on the field when he's eventually his starting quarterback, whenever that may be. And I'm going to explain all of that right after I thank this week's sponsor, HelloFresh. If you've watched this channel for a while, you know that I tend to work a lot of hours. And in fact, I just brought on an editor to do some work for me for the first time ever on this video because there was no way that I was going to do another football season at 60 to 70 hours a week for 6 months straight and survive. But that's besides the point. HelloFresh for a long time has been my way to still cook good meals at home for me and my wife without spending a whole lot of time that I don't have doing it. For me at least, because my house is kind of out in the boonies and it takes forever to get anywhere, my average grocery store trip takes well over an hour, and that's not counting the time it takes to plan out my meals or put together shopping lists. But with HelloFresh, I just get all of those portioned out ingredients delivered right to my door, and every meal we've had has come out amazing. HelloFresh also makes it easy to make all of their recipes too, just by following the instructions, even if you're relatively new to cooking. And keep in mind too that as you keep getting more and more meals delivered to your house, you can basically build like a HelloFresh cookbook out of those recipe cards so that no matter what, you always have recipes on hand to cook whatever style of food you want. Plus, on average, HelloFresh customers save 28% in cost compared to going to their local grocery store to buy the same ingredients to make the same meals. And because each meal is portioned out perfectly, you're not going to be buying a bunch of extra food that ends up going to waste. So HelloFresh is more sustainable as well. For people that have crazy schedules or people that just want to learn how to cook good food that doesn't cost a whole lot of money, HelloFresh has been an incredible service for me for a long time, and I know that you're going to love it too. So if you want to try it out for yourself, just to get a taste of how convenient and easy it will make your life, please check them out at HelloFresh.com at the link in the description below. Use my code FILMROOM14, and that will get you a total of 14 free meals, including free shipping. Again, that is HelloFresh.com at the link below to redeem, and for more details, promo code FILMROOM14 at that link for 14 free meals, and that is including free shipping. Thank you to HelloFresh for sponsoring this week's show once again. And with that all being said, let's get back to this film, and let's talk a little bit about how Kyle Shanahan is likely going to make Trey Lance's life a little bit easier from here on out. To me, the overarching theme of these first two Niners preseason games is that the best throws and decisions that Lance has made have come after Shanahan dials up some easy completions in the quick game, or maybe something simple on a bootleg where he can just settle in, get some free yards, get a little bit of confidence, and then with that confidence, and I guess you could say getting his rhythm back, he would start thinking clearly again and go back to ripping the ball down the field with decisiveness, timing, and accuracy. I'll give you an example. This is the first play of a scoring drive that Lance led to close out the first half against the Chargers. There's only 57 seconds on the clock, and his last pass attempt on the drive before this one ended in a sack, but Kyle Shanahan wasn't panicking. He just wanted to dial up some layups for Lance to get him back in rhythm and then take a shot downfield after those easy completions, rather than starting with that deep attempt before Lance was comfortable. The first play call was a screen, which was dropped, unfortunately, but at least it's an easy throw. The second call was a slant flat combo known as Dragon versus a corner that was playing 7 yards off the receiver, so yet again, another easy throw just to get in rhythm and get some yards. And the third call was a run on 3rd and inches to move the chains, which then led to this play right here with a fresh set of downs. A huge gain on a slot fade that got the Niners that chunk play they were looking for all game long. Trey Lance got to the line before that throw, and this is what he saw on defense. 2 high safeties, a corner out wide on a tight end, and a linebacker covering up the slot receiver to the boundary. Now, he knows based on his very little NFL experience so far that whatever he thinks he sees in coverage here, it's probably a lie. That much he can at least be sure of. So, if that defense is showing him 2 high pre-snap, it's probably going to roll to 1 high after the snap. And if he sees a 4-man rush being showed here, but a linebacker is curiously only 4 yards off the ball in an obvious passing situation, it's likely that he's blitzing as well. That's just how it works in the NFL. Everything that they're showing you on defense most of the time is not real. So quarterbacks, especially young ones like Lance, they always have to remember to rely on what is real, which is the fact that most of the time, if you have a linebacker covering up a receiver in the slot, you better run his ass out of the building. Fast is fast and slow is slow, so if your fast guys are on their slow guys, there's no amount of trickery or disguise in the world that can fix that for a defense, so take advantage of it. And of course, take advantage of it he did. The Chargers are running a fire zone here that they refer to as bocce, or at least Vic Fangio calls it bocce, so I'm assuming that Brandon Staley does as well, but that's besides the point. But lo and behold, on this fire zone call, that linebacker over the slot receiver, Trent Sherfield, was supposed to carry that route down the field with little to no safety help. Though obviously he seemed to not get the memo and he just let Sherfield go anyway. Regardless of whether he carried it or not though, Lance was going to take the shot on this fade because it was a good matchup. Slow guy versus fast guy after all. And the safety had almost no shot of getting to this ball at the boundary anyway. This is the confident Lance that we know and love. This is how he played at North Dakota State. Get to the line of scrimmage, ID the matchups, peep the safety to make sure those matchups don't have help, and then punish them. That's what he can do when he's playing with confidence. And I think Kyle Shanahan is really focusing all of his time right now into getting Trey to play with that kind of swagger or aggression or whatever you want to call it, and not having him worry and get bogged down too much in the mistakes. Interceptions are going to happen. Sacks are going to happen. And all of the crazy bullshit that Steve Spagnuolo throws at young quarterbacks is going to happen. And it's going to happen a lot. But the key is for Trey Lance to just keep fighting through that adversity, to take every mistake as a learning experience, and for him to keep being aggressive and decisive no matter how many stumbles there are along the way. Because at least to me, when he is aggressive and decisive, that is when we see how special of a football player he can be. It is very possible that this video will feel slightly outdated within a few days because I think I'm releasing it like the day before the 49ers' last preseason game, and I honestly have no idea how Trey Lance is going to play. He could be great, he could be shaky, who knows? He's a rookie quarterback that's barely played any meaningful snaps in the last 22 calendar months. Wild card is an understatement here. So rather than trying to make an early determination for myself and react way too heavily to a couple preseason games, which I've done, let's just say a few times too many in the past, I'm going to learn from my mistakes and show some character growth and let all of you tell me what you think. I've showed you the good, I've showed you the bad. Where do you stand? Should Trey Lance start now? Should he sit the entire year like Pat Mahomes did? Or should the 49ers split the difference somehow and bring him in halfway through the season as kind of a mid-year switch at quarterback? Let me know in the comments below what you think, because I am genuinely torn on this subject and I don't really know what the right answer is. And while you're in those comments, let me know if any of you are going to be in Vegas for week 1, that is Ravens at Raiders on Monday night. I'm going to be there at that stadium, hopefully in the black hole, but either way, I'm going to be somewhere in the stands wearing black so that I come out safely. And then in week 2, I'm going to be up in Seattle for Titans at Seahawks. Let me know if you're going to be there as well. We're kind of planning some sort of get together that weekend with a whole bunch of Hawks fans. Titans fans are welcome as well. Seahawks fans are pretty cool. Just bring beer and you'll be welcomed. But yeah, let me know down below if you're going to be at either of those games. We'll link up. We'll talk football. Hopefully grab a couple drinks and just kind of have fun with it. Oh, and one more thing. I still have the fantasy rankings over on the Patreon for PPR and standard formats. The final version of those is going to be coming out in the first couple days after week 3 of preseason, because I know a lot of you are drafting the following weekend, so I'm going to get those out as quickly as I can. And remember, if you are a patron already during the regular season, that means you get to vote every single week on whatever my episode topic is. So I'm going to be watching games every Sunday and then just kind of put up a list of 3 to 5 topics that I want to do, and then all of you get to vote on those topics and determine whatever the next episode is going to be. So that's just kind of my way of trying to give more in-season rewards for the patrons that, support me and make everything possible. You guys are amazing, and I couldn't do this without you. So yeah, if you're a patron and you only stick around for fantasy rankings, maybe you'll want to stick around to vote on episodes too. So with that, thank you to all of you that support me and make all of this possible. I wouldn't be able to do this without you. I can't wait to see all of you very, very soon. Stay happy, stay healthy, and until next time, which I think is only going to be a few days from now, cheers.